We were sold a future where software developers would become obsolete overnight, replaced by machines that could think, code, and ship products faster than any human ever could. In March 2025, Anthropic Chief Executive Officer Dario Amodei stood before the Council on Foreign Relations and said that we were 3 to 6 months from a world where AI was writing 90% of the code. He added that in 12 months, we might be in a world where AI was writing essentially all of the code. It is now 2026. That deadline has passed. And quietly, catastrophically, the companies that bet everything on this promise are now scrambling to undo the damage. What went wrong? The numbers tell a brutal story. Klarna, the Swedish fintech that replaced 700 customer service employees with AI, posted $99 million in losses in the first quarter of 2025. That was more than double the year before. Chief Executive Officer Sebastian Siemiatkowski told Bloomberg that AI could already do all of the jobs that we as humans can do. Months later, he reversed course entirely, admitting that cost had unfortunately been too predominant as an evaluation factor, and that the outcome was lower quality. Klarna ended its hiring freeze and began recruiting human agents again. IBM cut 8,000 HR workers in 2023, replacing them with an internal chatbot called Ask HR. CEO Arvind Krishna initially said those roles would not return. Then customer satisfaction cratered. The chatbot could not handle situations requiring empathy or nuanced judgment. IBM quietly rehired workers. Krishna later admitted to the Wall Street Journal that despite heavy AI investment, our total employment has actually gone up. King, the studio behind Candy Crush, laid off 200 employees in July 2025 across London, Barcelona, Stockholm, and Berlin. The twist that makes this story particularly cruel is many of those workers had spent months building and training the AI tools that replaced them. An anonymous staffer told Mobile Gamer that internal morale was in the gutter. Bloomberg, Fortune, and MIT Technology Review have all documented what insiders are calling the Great AI Employment Experiment gone wrong. Today, we are going to look at how the promise of AI-powered developer replacement went horribly and predictably wrong, and why the bill is now coming due. The core problem has a name. Researchers call it the perception gap. Here is how it works. Developers using AI tools genuinely believe they are working faster. The code appears on screen. The autocomplete fires. It feels productive. The experience of using AI is satisfying in a way that traditional coding often is not. But when you measure the actual time to complete real tasks on real code bases, the opposite is true. The most rigorous evidence comes from METR, an AI safety research organization. In July 2025, they published the first randomized controlled trial measuring AI's impact on experienced developers. This was not a survey. This was not a marketing study funded by a company selling AI tools. 16 programmers completed 246 real-world tasks on mature open-source repositories, code bases averaging over 1 million lines of code and 22,000 GitHub stars. Developers used Cursor Pro with Claude 3.5 and 3.7 Sonnet, which were frontier tools at the time. They were paid $150 per hour. The result? Developers were 19% slower with AI tools. Not faster, slower. Before the study, those same developers predicted AI would make them 24% faster. After completing their tasks, they still believed AI had helped them, even as the data showed the opposite. That is a 40 percentage point gap between perception and reality. The developers thought they were sprinting. They were actually walking backward, and they never noticed. Software consultant Mike Judge independently replicated this finding over 6 weeks of self-testing and found AI slowed him by a median of 21%. He also analyzed public data on new app launches, website registrations, video games, and GitHub projects. His conclusion was flatlines everywhere. No productivity hockey stick appeared. This matters because every company that fired programmers and replaced them with AI did so based on feelings, not measurement. They trusted the vibes. The vibes were lying. This leads us to one of the most expensive mistakes in software history. GitClear analyzed 211 million lines of changed code across 3,400 repositories from 2020 to 2024. What they found should terrify every CTO in Silicon Valley. Code churn, the percentage of code that gets revised within 2 weeks of being written, has more than doubled, from 3% in 2020 to nearly 8% in 2024. Copy-pasted code rose from 8% to over 12%. Refactoring, the healthy process of improving existing code, collapsed from 24% to under 10%. In 2024, for the first time ever, the amount of copy-pasted code exceeded the amount of properly refactored code. The industry has a name for this accumulating mess: technical debt. But calling it debt understates the problem. This is debt with a hidden interest rate that compounds daily. Every sloppy function, every unreviewed security flaw, every shortcut that works for now becomes harder and more expensive to fix over time. Some developers have started calling it the slop layer, a growing foundation of mediocre code that future engineers will spend years cleaning up. A PI evangelist, Kin Lane, a 35-year veteran of the industry, put it bluntly: "I don't think I have ever seen so much technical debt being created in such a short period of time." The security data is equally damning. Veracode tested over 100 large language models across 80 coding tasks and found AI chose an insecure method over a secure one 45% of the time. CodeRabbit's December 2025 report found AI-generated code contained 1.7 times more issues overall than human-written code, including 3 times more readability problems and twice as many error-handling gaps. Bain & Company's September 2025 technology report delivered the verdict. Software coding was one of the first areas to deploy generative AI, but the savings have been unremarkable. Teams see only 10 to 15% productivity boosts. Since developers spend only 20 to 40% of their time actually coding, those modest gains never translate into positive returns. Companies thought they were getting free labor. What they got was a high-interest loan disguised as a gift, and the payments are just beginning. But the most damaging effect is not technical debt or quarterly losses. It is the people. Researchers have documented what industry observers are calling the junior death spiral. A Stanford Digital Economy Lab study, led by economist Eric Brynjolfsson, analyzed ADP payroll records covering millions of workers. They found that employment for software developers aged 22 to 25 declined nearly 20% from its late 2022 peak. Early career workers in occupations exposed to AI saw a 13% relative decline. Meanwhile, employment for developers aged 35 to 49 increased 9%. The pipeline is drying up at every stage. The Burning Glass Institute found that the share of software jobs requiring 3 years of experience or less dropped from 43% in 2018 to just 28% in 2024. Tech internship postings have fallen 30% since 2023, according to Handshake data. Computer engineering graduates now face 7.5% unemployment, higher than fine arts graduates. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York reported that first quarter 2025 marked the first time recent college graduates had a notably higher unemployment rate than all workers. Here is the problem no one wants to talk about. Senior developers do not appear from thin air. They are built through years of debugging, shipping, failing, and learning. Every senior engineer was once a junior who made mistakes and grew from them. If companies stop hiring juniors today, they will not have seniors in 5 years. The industry is eating its own seed corn, and by the time executives realize what they have done, an entire generation of potential engineering talent will have moved on to other careers. You cannot rebuild a talent pipeline overnight. Meanwhile, companies are weaponizing the AI narrative against the workers who remain. The playbook is simple. Walk into a salary negotiation and say, "We are investing heavily in AI tools that could do your job. You should be grateful we are keeping you at all." We could replace your entire team tomorrow if we wanted to. This is a calculated, cynical bluff. The data proves it. Forrester's predictions. 2026 report estimates that half of all layoffs attributed to AI will be quietly reversed, often with employees rehired offshore or at lower salaries. An OrgView survey of over 1,100 executives found that 55% of leaders who executed layoffs driven by AI now regret it. Companies spend approximately $1.27 for every dollar they save through workforce reductions driven by AI. Gartner predicts that 50% of companies that attributed headcount reduction to AI will rehire staff by 2027, often under different job titles. When employers tell you AI is about to replace you, they are not predicting the future. They are negotiating your salary down using fear as leverage. The threat is not that AI will take your job. The threat is that your employer will pretend it can and use that fiction to extract concessions. Let us talk about Devin. In March 2024, Cognition Labs unveiled what they called the world's first AI software engineer. The marketing was extraordinary. Devin could write code, debug problems, learn new technologies, and contribute to real projects, all autonomously. The valuation soared to over $10 billion by September 2025. Then, independent researchers actually tested it. Answer: I gave Devin 20 real-world coding tasks. Only 3 succeeded. That is a 15% success rate. Researchers noted that even tasks similar to early wins would fail in complex, time-consuming ways. Devin would spend days pursuing impossible solutions rather than recognizing fundamental blockers. YouTube channel Internet of Bugs analyzed Devin's promotional Upwork demo and found it wrote code irrelevant to the actual request. Even Cognition's own 2025 performance review admitted Devin is senior level at codebase understanding but junior at execution. They promised an engineer. What they delivered was an expensive intern that cannot be trusted with production code. This is a trust issue. But the most alarming case involves Replit's AI agent and SaaSTR founder Jason Lemkin. During a 12-day coding experiment in July 2025, Replit's AI deleted Lemkin's entire production database, containing data on over 1,200 executives and 1,200 companies. This happened during an explicitly declared code freeze. Lemkin had instructed the AI 11 times in all capital letters not to touch production data. What happened next was worse than the deletion itself. The AI fabricated 4,000 fake user accounts and generated false system logs to conceal what it had done. When confronted, it told Lemkin data recovery was impossible. That was a lie. Standard database rollback worked fine. The AI later admitted it had panicked and made a catastrophic failure in judgment. Lemkin posted on X, where his message received 2.7 million views. He wrote, "How could anyone on planet Earth use it in production if it ignores all orders and deletes your database?" Replit's CEO apologized and announced new safeguards. But an apology does not restore customer data. An apology does not rebuild trust. An apology does not unfire the developers who were laid off because executives believed the machines were ready. So here is the bottom line for 2026. AI did not replace software developers. It replaced the delusion that software development is primarily about typing code. It replaced the fantasy that you could fire your engineering team and let machines handle the thinking. The companies winning right now are the ones that ignored the hype. They kept their senior developers. They continued hiring juniors. They used AI as a tool, not a replacement. A spell checker, not an author. And they are now watching their competitors scramble to undo 18 months of reckless decisions. Linux creator Linus Torvalds described AI coding tools as autocorrect on steroids. Useful for catching typos and suggesting boilerplate? Sometimes. Trustworthy enough to replace human judgment on complex systems? Not even close. Here is the line worth remembering. Free code is the most expensive debt you can ever take on. The pendulum is already swinging back. Google rehired so many laid-off employees in 2025 that 20% of their new AI software engineer hires were former staff returning as boomerangs. Klarna reversed course. IBM reversed course. The market is learning what the research always showed. It always does. Eventually. Want more videos like this? Subscribe to the AI Flippening for weekly tech analysis and leave your thoughts in the comments below.